Jesus is the boss over your life. Every single moment, every single area of your life, Jesus is to be the boss. Now, he is in the middle of really giving it to the religious leaders, really taking them to town. And we've got to be careful as we read these things. Of course, we want to feel protected by Jesus and grateful for how he is going after the religious snobbery of the religious leaders of his day. But we have to remember that, especially if you are a follower of Christ, self righteousness is an especially appetizing sin that you can fall into because you are doing good works. You can then forget that those good works are produced in you by God, and you can start to get full of yourself. And then you can find yourself acting like Jesus's enemies instead of acting like his friends. We do not want to act like these Pharisees and these religious leaders. So it is well for us to pay attention to how Jesus reprimands them, realizing that this reprimand can oftentimes land on our own heads. So let's read what he tells them. He says, "Here another parable, guys. There was a master of a house who planted a vineyard, put a fence around it, dug a wine press in it, and built a tower. It released it to tenants and went into another country. And he would expect the tenants to do the work and to produce fruit and make a profit. And when the season for fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the tenants to get his fruit. And the tenants took his servants, beat one, killed another, stoned another. Again, he sent other servants, more than the first, and they did the same thing to them." This picture here is all of the various prophets that that God himself sent to Israel, and they constantly, one right after another, reject them. We think of Isaiah, we think of Jeremiah, we think of Ezekiel. The way that they were treated was not good. And again, he sent more servants, other servants, more than the first, and they did the same thing to them. And finally, he sent his son. God the Father sent his son, Jesus Christ, into the world. Finally, he sent the son to these tenants, and he said, "They'll respect my son. They didn't respect the other ones, but they'll respect my son." But when the tenants saw the son, they said to themselves, "This is the heir. This is the one who's going to end up getting all of this. Come, let us kill him. And if we kill him, then we'll have his inheritance." And what a foolish thing to do. Are they really going to get the inheritance if they kill the son? No. Verse 39, "So they took him and threw him out of the vineyard and killed him." Exactly what they were going to do to Jesus. Jesus was crucified outside the city walls. Verse 40, "Therefore, when the owner," Jesus is asking the religious leaders, he says, "When therefore the owner of the vineyard comes, what will he do to these tenants?" And they said to him, "He will put those wretches to a miserable death." Notice they are passing correct judgment, and as they are passing this judgment, they are passing it on themselves. He will put those miserable wretches, he will put those wretches to a miserable death, and let out the vineyard to other tenants who will give him the fruits in their seasons. And so Jesus said to them, "Have you never read in the scriptures, the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone? This was the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes." So that the very cornerstone, the very chief stone, the builders, the religious leaders rejected. And of course, the chief cornerstone is Jesus Christ. Christ goes on to tell them, "Therefore I tell you that the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a people producing its fruit." Jesus is making it quite clear who he is talking about. He is talking about these religious leaders. He's going to take it away from you and give it to other people. And the one who falls on this stone will be broken to pieces. And when it falls on anyone, it will crush him. And when the chief priests and Pharisees heard his parables, they perceived that he was speaking about them. But then they are fulfilling what Jesus said way earlier in chapter 13 when he was speaking these parables to the crowds. He quotes and says that hearing they don't hear, and seeing they don't perceive. So the Pharisees are choosing, and the chief priests are choosing not to understand. They're choosing not to truly perceive. They understood what he was talking about, but they chose not to really put it into their hearts and change, because we see what happens next. Because although they were seeking to arrest him, they feared the crowds because they held him to be a prophet. They were afraid of the crowds, just like they were afraid of the crowds when it came to John the Baptist. So we know how all of this works out. We know that the religious leaders begin to find a way to arrest Jesus in secret at nighttime on Thursday night when the big crowd is not there. So again, they are seeking to arrest Jesus. They are not letting him reign supreme over their lives. So here's my spiritual, scriptural insight. Encourage you to journal in your, find a journal. Remember, we do have this program called A Call to Joy that'll teach you how to work through this process yourself. But my scriptural insight here is, let us embrace Christ's rule over our lives. He is the boss. Let's not be like those religious leaders. Let us work the vineyard appropriately and correctly. Let's do everything that we can do to the honor of Christ. And the prayer here is, I confess that I am not following you in blank. What area are you not following Christ in? Confess that unto him right now. And then application. Is there an area in your life where you need to start following Christ? So it's one thing to confess it to the Lord. It's another thing to actually obey him and do it. So change. What in your life needs to change? If you need help, reach out to me. I'd help you to think it through, try to apply some biblical principles to it, give you a way to think through these things so that you can better follow after Christ. I pray that has been a blessing to you. I'll see you in the next video.